Hey everybody, today we are going to plant some tomatoes together. So I kind of wanted to talk about the tomato plants or the seeds that I'm going to be planting in 2022. I bought from a couple of different seed companies. I like to mix it up because everybody has their own version in their own genetic line of certain varieties. And you just find your favorites that you really want to stick to. But for me, I'm actually going in a whole new direction this year. We have new property, which means new garden, new climate, new everything. So I figured this would be the perfect opportunity to just go fully new and see if I can find some new favorites. This year, for my canning tomato, I'm going to do the wildly raved about Amish paste tomato from Baker Creek. It is a determinate variety, which means it will all ripen about the same time. Perfect for canning because you need lots and lots all at the same time to really make it worth your while. They are a longer tomato versus like the perfect round tomato. So they're shaped more like your classic Roma tomato. They're going to be really, really meaty and not very juicy, which is exactly what you want for a canning tomato. I'm only growing one type of cherry tomato this year, and it's not just because I don't love them, because I do. I sack my garden all the time. I absolutely love going out for lunch and just filling up while I do some pruning or weeding. It just was happenstance that once I got all my seeds in, I realized, I only got one this year. And that is the Lozano cherry tomato. It is a hybrid, which I don't always do, but I want to grow and be successful. So we're going to try this hybrid. It's a perfect compact cherry tomato plant. It says it only gets about 20 inches high and about 20 inches wide, which is kind of unusual for cherries. Usually they kind of sprawl and they're this big bramble, but I'm really excited. People say that it's really, really sweet, which is perfect for snacking. It's a semi-determinate also, meaning you'll get some earlies, you'll get some lates, but most of the tomatoes will all ripen about the same amount of time. And then I will make something that I absolutely love for canning. It's you dehydrate them in the oven so they get that roasted sweetness, and then you put it in a jar with half olive oil and half red wine vinegar, and it just makes this perfect savory jar that you can just dump in a pan with some chicken breast, and it's like a meal in a can. It's amazing. We try to grow as much food as we can for the whole year, and tomatoes is one of those things that it just doesn't work out very well because they are so soft and they go bad so quickly. But I'm going to try a new one it's not new to Territorial, it's new to us, but it's called the Long Keeper. It is a smaller, regular, like medium-sized tomato. It says it's about 3 inches in diameter. But the really cool thing about this is that it says it can store in like a cool, dark place as long as they don't touch. So, you lay them all out on a tray, and then as long as they don't touch, they'll ripen over about a 3-month period. I haven't tried them, but I'm really excited to eat a fresh tomato 3 months after our last frost date, which is usually well past Christmas. So maybe I'll be eating fresh tomatoes for Christmas dinner. Who knows? I'm excited to try those. Another fun variety that we're doing this year is called Kelloggs Breakfast. It's a slicing tomato that's really large. So it's going to be this brilliant orange color. It's going to be big and just a really giant tomato. And I am so excited. A few of my favorite YouTubers have all said that it's amazing. So we're going to try a few of those. And for funsies, because, I'm addicted to buying seeds, and I am not going to tell my husband how much I spent this year. But I got this really cool one. Multiple places carry it. It is the Dye Berkeley tie-dye. So it's a green, larger slicing tomato, and it has red and yellow streaks even throughout the inside of the tomato, which just screamed fun to me. So we're going to try it. The Kelloggs Breakfast are both indeterminate tomato plants. That means they are going to ripen and they're going to ripen throughout the entire season. So they will have tomatoes all the time. They'll get really tall. You'll need to stake them. These are your big monster tomato plants that will just keep producing until the weather says no more. My last tomato that I'm going to grow this year is the Old German Slicing tomato. It is also an indeterminate. It is a classic giant red heirloom tomato. So I'm really excited to try this. This is also from Territorial. You know, I love Territorial. They're a local company to me, and I always really like to support local. They're a little bit of a bigger company, which means that they just have, you know, more resources available to them. But they are local to Oregon, and which is where we are. And so I like to use seeds that are from your region. You'll have a higher success rate because they're acclimated to your climate. So those are the tomatoes that we are going to grow. This year I upped my seed tray game and set up the ones I've been using for several years, which are starting to get on their last leg. You know, they're the cheapy Jaffies that I picked up at my local big box store because I was desperate to start seeds a few years ago, and that's what we had, and that's what we could afford, and that's what we used. But Burpee has a product out that I've been eyeing on. I've been eyeing a few different kinds, but we're going to try this one this year just as a product review. I would like to not use plastic. However, if I can use them over and over and over and over and over again, I'm going to do it. So this is a 2-part tray system. It is very sturdy. I mean, you can really... This is hardcore. The nice part is that these drainage holes are nice and big, so you'll really be able to make sure that they don't dry out. You'll have a lot of airflow. Yeah, so nice and handy. Plus, they are flexible. I don't know, so that when you go to pop your little seedling out, they can come right out. And you'll be able to use this over and over and over again. Another thing I really like about this particular size is it's bigger. I might not get back to these when I should, and I don't want them to be cramped. I want them to be able to have all the room they need. With tomatoes, I do pot them up because I don't put in tomatoes until about June here because I don't like them getting cold toes. I just... you need to really make sure that it's nice and hot, that the soil's hot, the weather's hot, there's no dips at all in the temperature. They like it toasty. So I will pot them up at least once in the greenhouse, along with the peppers, who also are very, very sensitive to cold. They'll get stunted and then they'll never catch up. But peppers are the next video. So I'm going to start with a seedling potting mix. I kind of do my own mixture. It just works well for me. I have had it soaking. It's a little dry, so I'll have to put some water in the bottom of the tray. But we'll fill this up and start with the planting. We're just going to fill this up here. Spread it all out. I use kind of a mixture for my tomatoes just because I know that they are going to be in this quite a while. So I'm just going to fill all this up nice and even. Once all the cells are full, spread that out. Gonna tamp it down, and then all of a sudden, look, had some air pockets in there. So you want to put more on top and just make sure every last one is full to the brim. First up is our Old German. I am going to put 2 seeds per tray, and then I will determine which seedling is doing its best. If you notice, the seeds are very, very small, so they really only need to be planted just below the surface. I would say about a 1/4 inch of below the surface. So what we do here is we put the seeds right on top, and then we firm the soil down, and then we just do a sprinkling of the soil on top, just a real light sprinkle to make sure that they are nice and covered. Okay, now we've got our seeds in each cell. I do two per cell, just to, like I said, make sure we just keep the extra strong, the best looking one. We're going to take more of our seed mixture and just a light sprinkle over the top to cover up those seeds. Our tomatoes, or tomatoes in general, like to be planted, or you can plant them as early as 6 to 8 weeks before your last frost date. I wouldn't recommend doing them much before that, just because they can get big. You know, they can get really big, and if you're not able to pot them up into a bigger pot size to really let those roots grow, you can wind up with a few issues. Another thing is they need light once they pop up out of that soil, and if your ambient temperature in your house, greenhouse, cold frame, whatever you're using, they'll need a heat mat to germinate. Once everything's planted just the way you want them, so they're nice and cozy in their seed trays, write a tag. I have a bunch of these. I try to repurpose as much as I possibly can. So I just save them and then I write on the back end marker. So when you're all done, it's going to look something like this. You're going to have your labels with your dates, every seed's covered, it all looks good. I found a bag of mystery tomato seeds that just had 5 in it from some seed swaps, so I popped those in too. So everything's tucked away exactly like it should. We'll put some water in the bottom of the trays, put them on the heat mats, and I'll see you back here in a few weeks to check the progress. Now that I'm done planting all my seeds, I'm going to keep my seed packs because some I've got seeds left over and we can use next year. And then I'm going to put it in my gardener's journal. It's a really fun way that I can keep my notes. It's a beautiful keepsake if you're into that kind of thing. I can draw pictures of where I put everything in my garden, my extra soil. So yeah, everything's good to go. This is what it's going to look like, and I'll see you in a few weeks.